Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Tuesday, it seems, because it's Derby week. Derby lunchroom was yesterday. We had other things on our agenda, but now it's all focused on the big final, €125,000 to the winner of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. As always, I'm joined by the exile dub, Tommy Lyons, from his Youghal base. He did manage to make his way up to Shelbourne Park at the weekend. He snuck in, he snuck out, got back out in the cover of darkness. And we are, of course, joined by the sponsors rep, Sarah Kinsella, a lady who has been at Shelbourne Park for each and every round of this year's Derby, providing so much content, so much thought, and of course, one or two winners. Sarah, you're very welcome. Tommy, you're very welcome. We're going to start with you, Sarah. This is your week. This is the week where you're really, I suppose, like a kid at Christmas as such.
Yeah, it really is. It's very, very exciting. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to actually imagine what I'd be like if I had a dog in the Derby. I mean, I probably wouldn't sleep for the whole duration of it, let's be honest. But I'm excited for everyone that's there and deadly jealous of them at the same time. But it's fantastic. The Derby lunch yesterday, fantastic to have it back. Everyone was in great form. It was done very well. Well done to Shelbourne Park and all the staff as well. We're delighted as sponsors that it's just gone so well for us. So may the best dog win now on Saturday night. Absolutely buzzing.
Well, over the next 3/4 of an hour or so, we will hopefully find you the winner of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. We'll speak about all their various respective claims. We'll look back at the two semi-finals. Tommy Lyons, we've had 55 races, about 27 minutes of action, and it's all down to a clean slate. 6 greyhounds in a one-off race. Winner takes all.
Yeah, and it is a good final because we did have a bit of concern that the last week's semi-final, the Susie Sapphire one might overshadow it because it was such a strong lineup. But it is a really good lineup for Saturday night. It was actually great to be back there. I don't know when I was in Shelbourne Park. I can't remember the last time, which is ridiculous for a fellow who spent 3 nights a week there for so long. It was just great to be back and actually see them live in the action. And there was a good atmosphere and a good crowd around. So I'm sure it'll be bigger and better again next Saturday night. I won't be there, unfortunately, but I'll be watching in and cheering on Susie Sapphire, I would suggest.
It looks like I'm already against it. I think I'm going to have 2 Susie Sapphire votes by the end of this. But I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go through them. We'll look at the semi-finals first. We only have the 2 semi-finals to look at. We'll start with the opening one. That's generally the best place to start. Tommy, we said all about Ted had the makeup. He was 11-8, 6-4 in places during the week. We said there wouldn't be a sight of that on the night itself. He went off 8-11. It was about the right price. After about 4 strides, he was about 1-11, never mind 8-11. A thoroughly professional display from a greyhound that just keeps on coming forward. 29-23, 3:38, 17:03. I dare say Willie Rigney, Richard Brown, and Peter Cronin would take the same again on Saturday night.
Yeah, very much. It was nice that we predicted it kind of right that he's the only thing that we didn't expect was that Monroe Thunder didn't exactly break, and it probably left a little bit of a gap along the inside. But all about Ted was just what he was. He has been building towards. He's been building towards a performance like that. He has got better and better, and there is potential. Let's just be honest about it. There is potential that he could be even better next Saturday night. Now he has a tricky draw, and we'll go through all the actual Derby itself next week. But that was a spectacular performance, and great for Peter Cronin and Connections to get him into the final. He's a player, isn't he?
He is a big player. There's no question about it. Sarah, you were over the far side of the track. I'm not sure if you were at that point of the night, but Willie Rigney literally was, like we speak of a child at Christmas. He was like the child that got every toy on the planet Christmas morning. He was absolutely chuffed. And you can see why, a man that's been in greyhound racing for a long, long number of years.
Yeah, and I interviewed him afterwards, and you could just see, well, obviously he was excited to make it, but that's his first ever dog to reach the final of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. And he was telling me all about Enable, and he was going back on previous lines of the breeding and how good it is and all the winners they're having. And he's just dead excited. And why wouldn't he be? But the fact that he was backed into 8-11, as you say, he was 11-8 in places earlier in the week. There was just such strong support for him. And to be honest, when you look back now, you're thinking, how was he ever actually 11-8? Because he had a savage chance.
If you had been watching this neck last week, we said it, ourselves and Tommy said it, it just looked ridiculously big.
It did, but I think what they were expecting was that there was going to be a lot of early pace on the inside, and it just didn't really work out that way. But the one thing about Ted, and I've watched the replay a good few times, he did move in quite a lot from the wide. Now, in saying that, is it because he was on his own and there was nothing to keep him out as such? I'm not saying he's going to come out and cut in now on Saturday night or anything, but it would be just a concern for me in terms of going into Explosive Boy or Jack's Little Thing, but not to take anything away from the dog. We've all been raving about him from the very start, watching him over in Toaster, watching him progress week after week. He came into it quite fresh. Like a lot of the dogs in this derby, to be fair. Explosive Boy hadn't ran for a while, Sing Along Sally hadn't ran for a while, Susie Sapphire. They're all really, really fresh. And I know you're saying like there's a few outsiders in this, but I really do think it's one of the widest open derbies I've seen in recent years. And I've sat down and tried to dissect it with my dad. My dad is torn between Explosive Boy and All About Ted, but I mean, we'll talk later about who I fancy. But yeah, Willie Rigney, to answer your question, is extremely excited to be in the final.
Listen, that's what we're here to. We're here to look at the race itself, all about Ted, Sarah. It was a stunning display of all-round pace. He went to the corner, he flew down the back, he stayed every inch of the trip. We will talk about the racing line as we're preview the final itself, but from a visual point of view, it was just most impressive.
Yeah, it really was. Like, and it's just, as I said, we're watching them week after week and improving, and that's what you want to see. That's how the dogs win derbies. It's watching them progress week after week, like New and Taylor last year and Lenson Bucko the year before. All About Ted has derby written all over him. If he's just got a huge chance. He's only 3-1. Damo's playing it very, very safe, and he's got the clocks there. Only do 29.35, I think, in the third round, and that blew me away. That's, I think, the moment I realised he was a massive derby contender, when he done that big run. But yeah, again, he probably had the easier heat as well on Saturday night too. But I mean, it's got to be his toughest task now on Saturday night, and let's see if he can do it.
Yeah, just remember Tyrone had the easier heat in the All-Ireland, and that worked out okay for them in the final. Tommy Lyons, the inside of the track, a lot of what we expected to happen did happen. Monrod Thunder, while he didn't get the kick, he moved out. Susie or Scooby's Princess was like, talk about the meat and the sandwich. Sing Along Sally. I described her yesterday on a different Zoom as very similar to her kennel companion, Dear Jet Sydney. We know exactly what she's going to do. She's going to dive to the fence. But even though she dives to the fence, she rarely actually causes her own traffic problems. She gets across. She's so determined that she seems to nearly avoid, or not avoid it, but ride the bumps very, very well indeed. But her movement inwards really did cause everything to get very congested. She ran a fine race to even turn second, ran a big race in defeat. She's beaten 4 lengths in 29.23, so 29.51. She's after improving those 3 or 4 lengths we said she would improve. There's every chance she'll improve again, but again, her draw, Susie Sapphire on her inside, she's not going to quite get across her now as quickly as she did the other evening.
Yeah, she's one of the 3 greyhounds in the final to have produced her quickest time in Shelburne Park in the semi-final. We talked about her before the quarterfinals. I think we said she was the weakest of the bitches that were left by what she had achieved at that stage. But you pointed out the fact that Pat Buckley had said that she was getting stronger. She definitely was stronger last week. There was actually even a moment during that race, and just for a split second that I thought she might actually challenge All About Ted. She never quite managed to do that. That would have been a ridiculously big step up considering he was doing 29.23. So she's brought her form up to 29.51 with a really, really good run, and she can bring it a little bit more. Can she win the derby? That's a different story.
Sarah, there'll be no pressure on the Buckley clan. Gilbert Anderson and his son James and Archie will be coming over, and they can look forward to the occasion. There's no pressure. She's 12-1. In reality, she could be easily bigger than that on the night. We won't talk about exchanges stuff where people go silly prices. She could be stupid prices. But Sing Along Sally, she is progressing. That's where their hope is, that they can find that extra 2-3 lengths. But she needs, I know she's capable of a ping start, but her best ping start, she's going to have to improve even more on that in her 14 race career. She's going to need to come away like a scalded cat, like she's never come away before.
She is, and look, pressures for tyres. I mean, I don't imagine Pat Buckley being too worried going into this final. He's been there, he's worn the t-shirt. But it's so exciting for the owners. I think did he say on his Zoom, yes, this is the first pup he ever bought? And now he's in the final of a BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. That's pretty impressive. I could have that wrong now, but
yeah, you might have picked that up wrong.
He has pup off Pat Buckley.
Maybe he has won a British Oaks. He had Bull Run Bite who won the British Oaks. He's owned some really talented greyhounds, but they really do have a special place in their heart for Sing Along Sally, a bit like yourself, and of course Emma Buckley, who yesterday was just, absolutely, you could see the joy in her face to even be at the occasion.
Yeah, and look, we all love Emma. She's just such a great ambassador for the sport. She's the future of our industry, and in her broadcasting career and everything like that. But when you look at Sing Along Sally, I tipped her up at the very start of the Derby and people kind of laughed at me, but she was only 66-1, to be fair, like, and there was other brilliant dogs in there a lot bigger than her. But the fact, when you take away from what she did at Tralee, she bet Good Cody, Ballymac Belvold, she went into Limerick in the Connan Kirby, she was doing 130 splits. She was only beaten a neck by Stone Park Leo in the semis. Okay, she was beaten fair and square in the final. She hadn't ran then for a while. I think she was coming into the Derby only a few weeks out of coming and finished her season or whatever. So the fact that she's progressing week after week, she's due a hell of a start. We know she can do it. So I would not be surprised if she did it on Derby final 19. And I know she's 12-1, but I mean, you couldn't put anyone off putting a tenner on her, and she'll probably be bigger with the bookies on the night. If she gets the ping start, we know she stays. So with a bit of luck, can you imagine like a bitch? I really want a bitch to win. It's 9-4 for a bitch to win the Derby. But look, I know it's hard for her to do. She's going to have to break the best performance of her life. But she is due a big break in, and I certainly wouldn't be surprised if Pat Buckley got her to do it on the big night.
Tommy, from a race point of view, would it be better if Sing Along Sally was in 1 in the final and Susie Sapphire in 2? From my own personal point of view, I think that's the only change in the draw I'd have made.
Yeah, very much so. We actually spoke, I was chatting with some of the lads in Shelburne on Saturday night just before the draw was being made, and we were kind of saying, you know, the one place you didn't want to be drawn was just inside Sing Along Sally. Whichever greyhound you were, you just didn't want to be drawn her left. And it's not that you can't avoid trouble or there mightn't be a bump, maybe there won't be. But that's the one place in the whole draw. The rest of it didn't really matter. That was the only place you didn't want to be. So yeah. it does make it a little bit tricky for Susie Sapphire. I think it'll be fine. But I know we've had the team of the bitches for a long time. But like, you have Susie Sapphire, who won a Puppy Oaks and is now in the final of a Derby, and you have a bitch Sing Along Sally, who won the Juvenile Classic, was in the final of the Kirby, and is now in the final of the Derby. They are two remarkable bitches. And like,
when we started the discussion about this unbelievable group of bitches, these two probably hadn't even debuted.
Exactly. They weren't. We might have seen Sing Along Sally maybe. I'm not even sure if we had seen her. We certainly hadn't seen Susie Sapphire or ever heard of her. Like, she's a November 19 bitch. I think I said it in a report on Monday that, like, if she wins a Derby, Susie Sapphire, that might be the greatest achievement ever. I mean, that's a bitch pup who's come from nowhere to win in Puppy Oaks and Oaks in a vintage era, of really, really thoroughly top class bitches. To do both of those, get to a Derby final, and if she completes that treble, that might be the greatest performance ever. I mean, in my lifetime. I mean, you can go back to your Spanish battleships and wherever you like. I don't remember them that well, but this would be phenomenal. I'm not that old, Sarah. I'm really not. This would be absolutely phenomenal now. It really, really would.
Yeah, it really would be. I have a nice line later on. If she does happen to win, Susie Sapphire, she won't be the youngest bitch to win the Derby. Believe it or not. There was one that 4 days younger. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. The third qualifier in that opening quarterfinal or opening semi-final was Carrigane North. Thomas Buggy didn't manage to make it to the lunch. I'd imagine he is shacked up at home looking after Carrigane North, but Michael John Patterson was there yesterday, Sarah, and you could tell how much it means to him. But apart from what it means to them, it means so much to everybody. The fact that their dog has got this far, he's a puppy as well. In a way, it's nearly easier for the bitch puppy to get there than the dog puppy, because the bitches do tend to mature that little bit quicker. But for Carrigane North to be there in just his 14th career start, an October 19 whelp, it's a remarkable achievement. Again, he'll be a massive price in the final, and justifiably so in a race this hot. But they can be very proud of their greyhounds' exploits.
Of course they can, and Thomas Buggy can be very proud of himself and what he's achieved as well. Like, I'm sure when we watched this greyhound back in April, winning a race in Shelburne Park in 28.74, I'm sure plenty of us watching didn't even think he'd be a Derby dog. Maybe Thomas Buggy knew, and the Pattersons knew, but he has come along a hell of a way, and it just goes to show you don't need to be winning and doing flashy times every week to reach the final. And here he is now, and who knows what the future holds for this dog? Where's he going to go next? And it's very, very exciting for them, because the fact that he's so young as well, but it'll give Thomas Buggy a hell of a boost in his career too. And you never know, he might start getting more dogs, and it just leads to so much potential when you reach a Derby final. And I just hope he runs a big race, because again, he done a big break. I think it was the third round and he blasted from traps. Again, I know it's very hard. He's probably not in the same league as Explosive Boy and Susie Sapphire in terms of early pace, but we just don't know what's going to happen on the night. Will the crowd noise get to him? You know, there's going to be 1,500 people there. He wouldn't have been used to that. This is going to be his first time really with a big crowd noise. So I don't know, like, you can talk about that all day long, but if he gets a break, he'll need an awful lot of luck to win in. He's 25-1. He probably 33s on the night, who knows? But it's great for them to be there. Great achievement for everyone.
Yeah, you made a pertinent point there with the crowd noise. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Tommy, Carrigane North, Michael John Patterson said yesterday, like, last Saturday was their derby final. You know what I mean? Like, he's a realist. He knows that they're facing an uphill task. But for Thomas Buggy and the Buggy family, it must feel like a weight off their shoulders. They've had 3 semi-finalists in the last 4 years: Kilgreany Ace, Kilgreany Master, and Catch Me Flying. And to finally get one over the line into the derby final, like, if they're watching, you just have to say to them, enjoy the week, enjoy the experience, because the hard work is done.
I think what you do in this situation, right, when you know these people aren't foolish. We're not going to be telling them anything they don't know already. Carrigane North is going to be a huge prize to win the derby. But what you start doing if you're an owner like this, you start thinking, well, you know what, maybe if Single Line Sally moves left, she might bump Susie Sapphire. All of a sudden, they may not be in front of us. And then you're thinking, you never know, I might pick up a place or two.
If he managed to sneak up the inside, if he finds himself in the inside line, that corner, anything can happen. He's I know he's only 68 pounds, but he doesn't race 68 pounds. He races like a mid-70 pound dog. Yeah,
but you go up there thinking, right, oh, look, we're the outsider, likely going to be the outsider. So we've nothing to lose. We're picking up $7.5 grand and we're going to get a great thrill out of the week and out of the final itself. And then you start breaking down, going, maybe you never know if this happened on the inside. There was a little bit of trouble or a bump on the outside. You just try to make in your head that some way that, we've seen it in the past where big price winners of the derby do occur. Like, you and I and Sarah aren't going to suggest that Carrigane North is going to win a derby. And I don't think there's anybody out there who can make a solid case on form for them to win the derby. But if you are an owner or a trainer or involved with a greyhound, you just kind of make a scenario. Maybe this could happen. Maybe that could happen. I could get a little bit of luck here, and that's all I need. He's done 29.63. It might be 20, 30 spots short of what's going to win a derby. And it might even have a funny feeling it might even be a quicker derby final this weekend. But you're thinking it's only 3 or 4 lengths. And if a couple of them got held up slightly, you just never know. If you're not in, you can't win. I know it's an old saying, and it's trotted out a bit much, but it is a fantastic position to be in for a dog. 14th run, like in the derby final, it's not bad, is it?
No, certainly not. How many times have we stood after racing at Shelbourne Park on Derby final night and gone, God, I can't believe I didn't see that happening. Do you know that sort of way? Yeah. Like, I think back to something like He Said So. He was 10-1 on the night. He's in trap 1. He's a pink starter with flying early speed. God, I can't believe I didn't see that happening. Ballymac Sim, pink starter on the inside, gets a run. As you said it, Sing Along Sally is the key to Carrigane North's chances. If she pops out fast and cuts straight across the top, all of a sudden Carrigane North, with a good start, could just find himself in a lovely pitch on the inside. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he'll win the derby, but it's not an absolute 1,000,000-1. He's a 33-1 chance for a reason, and I think that's the price he'll go off. Anyway, they've done unbelievably well to get that far. I'm delighted for them. And Michael John yesterday said about this is the 3rd time they'd bred Dame Iris. She's had 3 litters by Skyworker Puma. I said, you'll have no problem selling any pups. He says, there's now a list. He said, and it's just those little things. That's what making a derby final does for you. You know what I mean? It's that little bit of black type. All of a sudden, Dame Iris is now throwing a derby finalist. And by all accounts, she could throw another one in the future. You never know. A tremendous opening semi-final. The 3 that went out, of course, we must give them a mention. Scooby Princess, who's been such a star through the derby. Monroe Thunder. It was just a bridge too far for him. He missed a kick on the night where he probably needed it most. And Gord Kelly Nestor, who ran such a superb derby for Andy Murray. Tommy, 3 proper greyhounds. They'll have their day again. Just wasn't meant to be.
I just think actually Carrigane North's performance could be upgraded because he had Gord Kelly Nestor and Scooby Princess on his tail coming out of the 3rd bend. You could easily have said, actually, as they panned out across the track a little bit, a turn for home, you could have said that maybe he could get swallowed up. So it was a nice performance by Carrigane North to hold off. They're strong runners, Gord Kelly Nestor and Scooby Princess. And Monroe Thunder, as we said, just missed the kick, and he was facing an uphill battle after that.
Sarah, Tommy just said it there. Like I was nearly guilty of it in commentary when Scooby Princess and Gort Kelly Nester came at him. I was nearly referencing them more than Carrigane North. But in fairness to Carrigane North, when he did straighten up, he kicked again. And in fact, in the last 10 or 15 yards, he probably just slightly increased his advantage over them.
Yeah, and I love to see that in a dog because they never give up, and it's a great sign to see, because sometimes when you're that, I'm not saying he was a million miles off the front, but some of these dogs on the way home, they can't even see the hair. So for him to come back again, he knew he had his job, he knew what he wanted to do. And we all know what Scooby Princess can do when she gets going on that home straight. Do you know what I mean? But look, she just didn't have any luck. And I was terribly disappointed not to see her in the final because she really, really deserved to be there. But look, we can't wait. Maybe she'll be running Derby final night and the Night of Stars. We've so much to look forward to with her. And Monrad Thunder, sure, he's only a few races under his belt, like, you know, so and God, Kelly Nester as well for Andy Murray. He about €18,000 in prize money. I think he won a cup down in Thurles or something before the Derby. I think you were telling me a while ago. So he's got an exciting future ahead of him as well. But look, not to take any of them away, like they've all reached the semi-finals of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby, and they can be proud of that achievement.
Yeah, I like to bring it back to you do the form guide or something like that, and in 2 months' time I'll be writing about Monrad Thunder and I'll go Derby semi-finalist, well housed on the fence. You know what I mean? And it stays with them. It is like a little medal on their chest. You know what I mean? He reached the semi-final of a Derby. Moving on to the second heat, Tommy, Sarah, we listen, it was billed as one of the potential races of the ages. And for the second week running, Susie Sapphire, fast away, always led. You know, that doesn't describe what went on in terms of writing a report, Tommy, it's one of those where you could have just said, well, in the second semi-final, Susie Sapphire hit the ground running. She went to the front, and while Explosive Boy did close on her, she held on by a comfortable head in 29.34. Unfortunately, greyhound racing isn't that simple. But Susie Sapphire, as I did my my tables this morning for the leaders' clocks, she's the only runner that has led to the third bend in every single round. Her 17.12 in the first two rounds, 17.04 in the third round of quarterfinals, and 16.96 last week. We said she probably needed to do it, and she did it. Tommy, you were saying she was going to go out. I was telling you she was going to win. Susie Sapphire is a good winner, and she rightly deserves her place in the Derby final, and she'll be thereabouts, disputing favouritism. If she'd been drawn in two, I think she would certainly have started Derby favourite. As it is, I think Explosive Boy might start Derby favourite. He was a good second, and back in third, Jack said the thing. We'll get through all of them in a moment, but Susie Sapphire, Tommy, she's special.
Yeah, look, that was a good test of her last week. It really, really was. And the race was everything we wanted. But she gave a display of possibly the most perfect type of racing you could do for a greyhound. You pop out, show early pace, don't leave the rails, give nothing away whatsoever. And that's the difference between winning and losing. She only won by a head, which is kind of remarkable, because I didn't think when I was watching it live that it was going to be that close. And Explosive Boy was staying on strongly up the line. Like literally only a head between them in 29.34. And for the two of those to dominate a race that hot, it was a fair performance by both of them. I think the Explosive Boy lost very little. He might even gained a little bit in defeat. But she's an exceptional bitch, and she might be the luckiest bitch in Ireland, because she got trap one in the final of the Puppy Oaks, trap one in the final of the Oaks, and trap one in the final of the Derby. It's not bad.
Oh, yeah, although they might have taken two in the Derby final. Sarah, Susie Sapphire, there's not an awful lot more that could be said about her. She's just an unbelievable animal. She's only finished out of the frame once. She now has a record of 11 wins from 18 starts. She's won, you know, obviously the Puppy Oaks, but she's also won a classic in the Irish Oaks. And here we are talking about a bitch, as you said, 1999 springtime. She's been to become the first bitch this century to win a BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby, and she has serious claims.
Yeah, she does. We're kind of running out of superlatives for her, really, aren't we? Once she won the Puppy Oaks, once she won the Oaks, and now in the Derby, it's just like, what else is she going to do? They could retire her after this weekend, because she doesn't need to prove anything else now. She's done it all. She's still young. Can you imagine the queue for getting her pups?
You won't be popular now with Owen McKenna, I can imagine. Don't be talking about retirement just yet.
No, but like, everyone has fallen in love with her. Her early pace is absolutely exceptional. She's so professional. She's so consistent. All she has to do is break this weekend and do what she's always been doing. That sectional last week, 16.96, was just, I mean, it gave you chills looking at her running. And I started to panic at one stage, because Explosive Boy was gaining on her, and Susie Sapphire did, in the week previous, she did tie up coming home. And I was kind of, oh God, no, because I napped Susie Sapphire. I was so confident in her. The way I was looking at the race was, Ballymac Ariel, the cloud that was hanging over her the week previous. Okay, she bet Explosive Boy fair and square, but she was tying up coming to the line as well. And I just didn't rate her in that race. And that's the way I was looking at it. And I had so much confidence in Susie Sapphire. I didn't think Jack's Little Thing would match their early pace whatsoever. And he can't keep producing them big breaks week after week either. So I just think Susie Sapphire has so much quality, and she's just so special, that I really do think the 9-4 about a bitch to win the Derby is a sensational price. Because I think if her and Sing Along Sally come out together, we're going to be treated to one hell of a battle between the two of them.
Yeah, I think I'd sooner take the 3-1 about Susie Sapphire than the 9-4 about the bitch, Tommy. Looking behind her, Explosive Boy, there is talk that he had a little bit of sickness a couple of weeks ago. I mean, using the term when he comes out of the haze, and he probably is out of the haze since last week. It was a fine run in defeat. I still think there's a 29-20 or better in him, Tommy. Will he produce it on Saturday night coming? Firstly, let's speak about his semi-finalist play. He's beaten ahead. He hit the ground running. I'm amazed that his sectional is only a 3:42. I just don't know where he lost his ground, because he did seem to hit the ground running. The bitch got by him as quick as you like. She's only doing a 3:41. It put into question where the sectionals are at the moment. There seems to be a little bit of inconsistency at the line. That would suggest that All About Ted is over half length in front of Explosive Boy on the opening line. I'm not sure I can see that.
I'm glad you said all that, because I think the exact same thing. I can't figure it out. Explosive Boy absolutely flew from traps. He was the first one to react. Susie Sapphire just had the better early pace, and she used her position well. She actually steps off a little bit at the first bend out into maybe lane 2. But she was clear of Explosive Boy, so it made no difference. But he moved down, he tracked down the back on the outside, maybe middle to wide down the back, and gave away.
Did the bitch increase her lead ever so slightly from the second bend to, let's say, just after halfway? I had it sort of definitely over 3.5 lengths, while she'd been 2.5 lengths in front into the back straight.
Yeah, she definitely did, because Explosive Boy tracks. He's coursing, as you would say, he's coursing the hare, whereas she is giving nothing away along the inside. So he's naturally, as he moves out across the track, he's going to lose a little bit of ground.
But then naturally, as he tracks across into the third bend, he picks up that length again.
Well, just because he has in theory, he has a quicker line to race. It's easier to race the line that he's going than it is to race the real tight line. But she's an expert at the tight line, so she's not giving a huge amount away. But like at halfway, you'd say, he's not going to get to it in a length and a half, or he might stay on a bit, but he's only beaten ahead, and he's done his quickest time over the 550 at Shelburne now, obviously in the semi-final. So he's lost nothing in defeat. He's enhanced his profile, if you ask me. I don't know, obviously things can happen early, and maybe there will be a little bit of a bump. It shows you how tight it is. If they can do 29.34 and 29.35, how tight it is, how any little thing that goes slightly wrong in the final could be the difference between winning and losing. But I think we'll wait to see what I won't say what I think the final will be like, but he's a player anyway, a big player.
I needn't ask you, Sarah, because I know you have seen it. You are the queen of Instagram. There was a video posted yesterday by Sandra Guilfoyle of Explosive Boy the following morning, and by all accounts, I know you used the term bouncing, or we used it a lot to describe greyhounds the following morning, but this really did describe Explosive Boy. He looks like he's $1 million, fit to face the world.
Yeah, he's gorgeous condition. He's so glossy. But in fairness, Patrick's dogs are always looking incredibly well. He's just such a terrific man with a greyhound. But yeah, I love those. And I mentioned it yesterday at the luncheon, it's the beauty of social media. And I know there's a lot of the older generation out there that wouldn't be on Instagram and don't.
Like Tommy, yeah.
But like Tommy, yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
But it's just become such a huge part of the industry. And I know it's a huge part of my job. It's become bigger in my job since COVID, to be honest. Going to events, obviously we're lucky enough to have gone during COVID, but social media and those videos, and Rachel Holland as well, the stuff that she does for Riverside Kennels on the Instagram is absolutely fantastic as well. She's constantly putting up pictures and giving them treats and bones and running around the paddock, and it's like something out of a movie, and they're frolicking in the gorgeous green grass, and it's just you're like, he makes it look absolutely.
Tommy, we're trying to talk about the dogs, and Sarah's talking about Little House on the Prairie.
Honestly, or something we started. Like, come on.
But what I'm getting at is they're happy, and all we need is them anti-protesters to look at all of that stuff that goes up on social media, because I can tell you they probably don't. And if they were to follow all of our pages and see the gorgeous things that I was in the gallops on Sunday morning with my dad and Martin Sharkey's, like everyone is putting in so much effort behind the scenes. It's just brilliant to see. Social media is the future, and videos like that are just brilliant to see because it shows that they love to race. They're getting up the next morning. They're absolutely bouncing around the place. So, you know, we're forcing them to run, really, aren't we? Yeah, right. Look at that video and tell me after that if you think the same.
Here. Explosive Boy, you ran well the other night.
Did. Look, he's 2-1 favourite for a reason, and Damien Lonigan will tell you the liability.
Damien Lonigan. Yeah, I liked his response yesterday on Twitter.
A
And
little
now
song.
the end is near. It's coming time to face the final curtain. Tommy, I think Damien reckons that the P45 is coming if Explosive Boy leads all. Sarah, please put Damo at ease.
No, look, Damo's done an absolutely terrific job. And again, I know I'm always rambling on about people that don't get mentions, but it takes an army to run an event like this. And Damo's been on the ball with prices and specials and everything so quick, so fast. I'm ringing him after Ballymac Ariel wins, and I'm like, wait, what price is she going to be next week? You know, in anticipation of being asked in an interview. So he's absolutely brilliant at what he does. But yeah, look, to be honest with you, John Boyle is brilliant in the sense that it doesn't matter what wins the Derby. You just take the bets, you know, do your job, do what the best that you can. Explosive Boy, yeah, he is a big loser for us, but it's just like when you look at the history of the Derby down through the years, we have never had a dog at such a high liability at such an early stage of the Derby. He was a massive and the shortest anti-post price favourite we have had probably ever. So that goes to show how much confidence the punters have in this dog, how talented he is. You can't take anything away from him. I know you can dissect it, saying Ballymac Ariel, bet him fair and square 2 weeks in a row. I mean, they're not machines. He can't be winning every single week, producing these big runs. But there is a lot of credit to give to him qualifying each week. And if he was off, as you said earlier on, like I that's even a bigger achievement for him. And doing 29.35 ahead behind Susie Sapphire. He's the favourite for a reason in the final lane, and I actually imagine he'd be shorter than 2-1 on the night. Tommy,
Explosive Boy, your thoughts. You know, obviously you've spoken of the run. He's beaten ahead the other evening, but he does have the draw. That tsunami of money that Sarah's talking about, it was very evident. You know, one or two firms put their heads above the parapet and went 16-1 the week of the Derby first round, and they were chopped away at the knees. You know, and it got to the point where they seem to be backing the dog beyond the price he should have been. And here we are in the Derby final. And Sarah said he's around 2-1. I spoke to a shrewd enough judge the other evening. He reckons he could be as short as 5-4, 11-8 on the night. I'm not going to disagree because something always comes in for massive money on Derby final night. I'm not sure at those prices, though, Explosive Boy will be all that popular.
Geez, I can't see him going anywhere near 11-8 to 5-4. Anywhere near it. I'd be amazed if that is. Like, it is a decent Derby final. I do think the prices are slightly skewed. I don't like the price of All About Ted at all. I just think he's a bit short. Not that he can't win it or anything like that, but he's short. But I can't see anything going off 5-4 in this final. I really can't. In fact, if anything, I know you've got to find the line between those who are betting with their heart and those who are betting with their head and true figures and all that. But I think Susie Sapphire will be popular.
I think there's no question she'll be popular in the night. I think they'll be the two that'll come for the money.
To my mind, they were. I think in the machine they were 11-4 each two after the semi-finals, and I dutched the two of them. I thought they were both overpriced at that, but I don't think there's going to be 11-8. I can't find 11-8 chance in that Derby final.
No, I agree with you. I do agree with you. Explosive Boy, Tommy, though, you can see why the money came from before the Derby. In recent years, the Derby's all have been about early speed. It's all about that first stride and getting racing into the corner. We saw it last year. We've seen it in numerous times over the last 5 or 6 years. You know, Law Hill Blake's, you know, even going back to like Linz and Bocco, we were expecting him to lead all in his Derby final. He actually had to come from behind. But, you know, dogs like that. And here we are with Explosive Boy, the dog that had the proven early speed, the proven competition sort of prowess, the fact that he had done the 29.22 around Tralee to break the 550 record, putting aside the doubts over his stamina. That's why the punters came for him.
Well, like, you know, it's difficult. Not that many bitches win the Derby, and we talked in depth, and I'm still going on about the quality of them this year, right? But I still think people who were betting with the head were looking at the Derby thinking, who's the most obvious greyhound dog? to win it. And he was the absolute standout of the dogs. We had like Dramana Bocco, who's had 3 runs or something now, who was 12-1 to win the Derby. Like he's an exception. He was exceptionally talented. He looked exceptionally talented in his first few runs, but like that lack of experience. I mean, there's lack of experience and there's real lack of experience with just 3 runs. I mean, he was a crazy short price. Whereas you had Explosive Boy, who had plenty of competition experience, who had shown week in, week out that he could fly up to the bend with the best of them. And we've talked about this in the past too, Ian, how you don't have to be a really strong stayer to win the Derby. Get out in front. He actually stays the Derby distance very, very well.
Yeah, if you actually look at the Derby final, he's probably I'm not going to say he's the second strongest in it, but he's not far off it. Do you know what I mean? Like he's in that bracket. Like there's 3 or 4 of them where you wouldn't say that any of them are flying finishers or big stayers, but he's going to stay at every bit as well as, Jack's Little Thing, All About Ted, and Carrigane North and Sing Along Sally.
Well, if he leads, he's not going to be beaten.
I think we're all be agreed in that.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything strong enough to come from behind him. Like if he leads, he will win. He's got serious ability. Like as I say, he was just a standout one. You've got other dogs there. Jack's Little Thing. He was popular at a bigger price before the Derby started. All About Ted had shown form and promise. Not to this level yet. He hadn't come to this level yet, but All About Ted. But I think a lot of us suspected that he would reach this sort of level. So. But Explosive Boy had been there and done it, and I thought he was very short at the start. Was he 7-1 or 6-1 or something? He was short anyway, just before the start of the Derby. But he was the standout dog. And if you are saying bitches struggle to, or they don't win the Derby very often, now we have an exceptional bunch, and maybe they will Saturday night. But like Explosive Boy, you can understand why he was so heavily backed. I mean, he did look the most obvious candidate among the dogs.
Yeah, no question. And the race for third spot was a very different affair compared to Susie Sapphire and Explosive Boy. And it was Jack's Little Thing that won out. Sarah, owned by the Pillar Syndicate, who are absolutely enjoying every single second of this Derby journey, trained by Graham Holland, who is, of course, seeking a 4th Irish Derby success and a 3rd in the row, which is unprecedented. But in terms of the race itself, the key to him was he got that half length in Ballymac Ariel. She for once didn't get into stride as quick as she can do, and that caused the problem. As we said, they wanted to be switched. Jack's Little Thing wanted to be in 4, Ballymac Ariel wanted to be in 5. She's leaning into him, he's leaning across her on the corner, he cuts her, she checks off, and all of a sudden Jack's Little Thing goes around 3rd. But he's still not a certain qualifier. Down into the 3rd bend, all of a sudden Ballymac Fairone is right bang on his inside. Ballymac Ariel is hunting them down, and Priceless Jet, you never know what sort of run he's going to come with. The most notable cheer of the night for me came at the 3rd bend. Susie Sapphire and Explosive Boy had already cleared us, and I heard a roar from the crowd, and I knew it. I knew exactly who it was and what they were doing. It was the Pillar Syndicate on the stands giving a roar of approval as Jack's Little Thing cut off his rivals to go back into clear 3rd spot. They're enjoying the Derby journey, but it was a hell of a run by him because he didn't have things all his own way early, Sarah.
No, he didn't, and we're watching him from the very start, even since the plate where he done that 29-31 performance. So I think he won 6 wins in the row, I think he done. So we're watching him every week, smash the lids, out and gone, making it look really, really easy. And then he comes into this semi-final, his toughest task to date. Okay, he missed the kick, but he worked really hard to qualify, and there's a lot to take from that performance, because I would have been one of them people that would have said, if he's not in front, he's no chance. I would have said that about him in his earlier career, and now I'm kind of eating my words. He's now in the final of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. I was chatting to the boys yesterday, David Byrne, and they have a good few pups on the go. They've had some bad luck, they've had some good luck. That's the way it goes. They're in dogs their entire life. They're in Shelburne Park at that pillar, enjoying the crack, having the bets. They're pumping money into Shelburne Park and the industry every single day of the week. They really deserve to be in the final. If he can produce just one more big kick, can you imagine the deafening cheers that'll be coming from them boys on Saturday night? Because they're the biggest supporters in the game that I know of, and I wouldn't take anything away from them if they won the big one on Saturday.
Yeah, you said it, Sarah. They're going to need that one final kick, though. His best start is 3:36. That's a minimum requirement, Tommy.
Yeah. Was he disappointing on Saturday night?
I don't particularly think he was. I think he got held up enough in the early yards and then had to cut the corner. To be honest, he could have easily been on the ground at that opening corner if heels had been clipped and whatnot. I think considering he basically hasn't been led. I know there was that one run earlier in Derby where he turned second after a very slow start, but he hasn't been led in quite some time.
Yeah, I look at. I'm going to be overly critical because I'm trying to find a Derby winner, and I'm not trying to run down the dog. But like when he did his big runs, there wasn't a depth of quality. There wasn't an early pace in the race that was going to lead him. So he had the chance to dominate completely. I don't know. I thought he ran well when, as you say, Ballymac Ariel wouldn't exactly be the strongest of stayers at the moment. Even though I think it's a dog that could develop into a proper Derby dog for next year, which is a funny thing to say about a dog who was in the semi-final this year. But anyway, I think he ran on nicely from the third bend to the fourth bend. I didn't think that he particularly found a huge amount home either. I feel wrong saying that about him because he is a seriously fast dog. He's got 29.10 on his clock.
Well, you listen, Tommy. He gets a bump on the corner. And he's doing 29.63. You know, where did he lose? Like he has 29.10 and 29.23 in his card. You're asking the question is where did he lose those 6 lengths per se? He didn't lose it. He didn't lose it in the run.
No, I don't think so, Ian. That's what concerns me going ahead now. Graham Holland has a brilliant record, we know that, and nothing will surprise me at all. Like if he comes out in the 29.10 and wins the Derby, fair enough. You know, I won't fall over. I won't be backing him. I won't be tipping him. I don't think he'll win the Derby final. And obviously, which is kind of almost ridiculous to say about a dog who can do 29.10, which is the fastest that any of the Greyhound or the finalists in the Derby have done. But I can't reconcile his run the other night with his previous runs. And that worried me going into this Saturday night, and that's
after the 6 runs in a row, you know, week after week after week. Do you feel he's now plateaued and perhaps on the way back down?
Well, I think again this sounds really harsh. I'm not trying to
potentially.
Well, no, not that I think he's on the way down. I think he's found his level, which might be a worse thing to say. I think that semi-final was exceptionally good, and the final is pretty close to what the semi-final was, and I think he just hadn't the early pace, and I don't see where he's going to get it. And he showed pace down the back, but Ballymac Ariel showed more pace than him to the third bend. He cut the bend very, very well, drove on, but I didn't think he was particularly strong home. So I'm just trying to reconcile it all. I don't know. I'm a bit like you, Ian. All these sections have me a little bit confused. I can't really figure them out. They don't tally with what I'm seeing in my head. So I don't know. I say, look at if I own Jack's little thing, I'd be the happiest man in Ireland thinking I had a Derby final and a dog that can do 29.10. If I get a dog to 29.10 for 5.25, I'd be happy. But for 5.50 is ridiculous. So I mean, I feel I'm just running the dog down, but I cannot see where that semi-final run can all of a sudden become a Derby final win.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. Sarah, Jack's little thing was the third qualifier. Behind them, we have to mention, you know, our old pal Ballymac Fairone, Ballymac Ariel, and Price's Jet. Three exceptionally fast greyhounds. You know, we said there was going to be 3 big names crashing out, perhaps the biggest of them being Ballymac Ariel, given her run through this year's Derby. But it was just a bridge too far for her. She had been under a bit of a cloud, but I think Liam, by all accounts, was pretty happy with her the other night. You know, it was lost at boxes for her. And in the end, she did show plenty of pace, plenty of boot, but just that half length behind Jack's little thing in the corner was to cost her. She was forced to check. She lost her momentum at that point, and suddenly her Derby is over. Ballymac Fairone, he probably did run his most encouraging run of the Derby thus far, showing a lot of pace down the back straight, as Tommy alluded to. And Price's Jet in trap 6. He's had a couple of problems in recent weeks. He was far from shamed the other evening. He finishes last, but he does nothing wrong in defeat. 3 fast greyhounds. We'll see them again in the future, no doubt. But it was the end of the road for them. Simple as that.
Yeah, and as you said, when we were looking at this semi-final, we were going to lose 3 big names, and that's just the unfortunate part of it. I didn't give Priceless Jet a chance in that race. I thought he ran really tired the week previous, and you know, he's a Corn Cuchulainn winner. It's going to be very hard to expect him to win a Derby. You know, like, it would have been a great achievement, don't get me wrong, but he just looked tired to me. Ballymac Ariel the same, and not to know, I hope Liam Dowling doesn't take this the wrong way, but how many Derby finals has he been in a row? Is this the first one he hasn't been in a while? I'd say it is.
You caught me unawares now.
It's unusual not to have him in the final. Do you know what I mean? Because he's got the best kennel of greyhounds in the country, arguably. And, you know, he's a terrific trainer. And it's just, there is a great variation of trainers in it, but I would have loved to have seen him in it because Ballymac Ariel just blew us all away from her early career and what she was doing in the earlier rounds of the Derby. You just would have loved to have seen her there. And I actually predicted Ballymac Ariel, Sing Along Sally and Susie Sapphire to reach the final. So I got 2 out of 3. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I'm making a prediction, Tommy, that if Liam decided to sell the first 2 litters of pups from Ballymac Ariel, he'd probably get that 125 grand for himself.
Yeah. And I watched the Derby from the Bahamas or something.
Yeah. Looking at the sectionals or the third round sectionals through the Derby, I think it's quite telling that 4 of the 5 fastest runs through the Derby to that third bend, well, they're from finalists. I think that says it all about this year's Derby, and basically the way the Derby has gone in recent years, Tommy, it is all about early speed. Ballymac Ariel was fastest with 16.88. She's not there, but Jack's Little Thing and Susie Sapphire both at 16.96, joint second fastest. Explosive Boy has a 16.98. And All About Ted is the 17.03. And just behind them, then you have Jack's Little Thing again, Ballymac Ariel again. Susie Sapphire has 2 more runs in the top 10. So she has 3 of the top 10 fastest runs to the third bend. And completing the 10 was Romeo Magico, a dog who we've almost forgotten about. It was that long ago since he produced that 17.06 in the opening round. But Tommy, I think that tells a story that early speed is what you need in a Derby. And we are looking at a Derby final where there is an abundance of it.
Yeah, you get the track is getting them home almost. You know, the dogs really get early speed. Susie Sapphire might be fading a little bit late, but she's bred to stay, so it's not going to be a concern. Sing Along Sally has stayed very well the last day, even though she never looked like getting to All About Ted. She ran very, very well. It is a good final. Just looking at the prices, like if you shop around, you're getting 11 to 4 the field, and that's about. It's maybe slightly big on the front too, maybe, but like that gives you the nature of what people think it is. I don't think it's quite as wide open as that, but yeah, there's plenty of value out there.
Sarah, from the initial prices, is there anything that stood out to you? Is there a dog that you think, okay, I don't think that'll win, but I think that's a big price?
In the Derby final?
Yeah.
Good question. I think All About Ted.
What he's here for?
Huh?
That's my job.
I think All About Ted. I think there's more to come from him. And now, in saying that, I would like a 2-1 favourite in a Derby final is a hell of a price, really, considering what he's done. I mean, Explosive Boy done 28.32, I think, in his first ever race, and he hasn't disappointed since. You know, he's got the experience. He knows what it takes to win on the big nights and big crowd, and that's not going to faze him whatsoever. But I'm edging towards All About Ted in terms of value. I think Tommy, you said earlier on you think he's a bit short. I really do think he's got a huge chance in this, just in terms of a price. I don't think Sing Along Sally just has to give the break of our life to win, and I love the bitch, but I just think All About Ted is I think he's a very good price, 3-1. And do you know what? I'd be telling people to take that 3-1 now, because as Willie Ridney alluded to yesterday, he's named after Ted Hegarty. So who knows? They might try and pull off a massive gamble now on Saturday night and clean out Pearl Ted.
I think 125 grand is enough now to be aiming for. Don't be worried about the gamble.
Well, yeah, but when you have to split that with other people, it doesn't really. You know, it's not all going to be Willie Ridney's, and the time the percentages come off and everyone's paid off, you don't have 125 grand.
As I always say to Willie, it's not money you're looking for. You have plenty of it. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll race down through the 6 finalists and just tell me what they need to do or what needs to happen for them to win. I'll say, how about that? And then we'll give our overall thoughts on the race. Susie Sapphire, I think we're just all going to say Fast Away Always Led. That's what needs to happen for her to win. She just needs to get away and avoid trap 2. Are you going to change my view on that, Sarah?
No, I'm a Susie Sapphire fan. I mentioned to you yesterday, I think she's going to win. She's probably the best drawn dog in the race, in my opinion. She'll take the paint off the rails, and because of her experience and consistency, all she has to do is keep being herself and keep being brilliant. If she's in front and she's 2 or 3 lengths, she'll win.
Tommy?
She produced her best run in the Puppy Oaks in the final. She produced her best run in the Oaks in the final. She produced her best run in the Derby in the final.
That's fair enough. For Sing Along Sally to win, Sarah, what needs to happen?
She needs to produce the break of her life. She needs to break like she was doing in the Carrigane Kirby, and she needs to lead to win, in my opinion.
Tommy?
Similar. I think I can't understand. I can't envision how she will win without something seriously going wrong for Susie Sapphire. And what I mean by that is probably slipping in traps, because I can't see Sing Along Sally breaking quick enough to clear her. And if she doesn't clear her, she'll either clip her from behind, she'll clip her from the front, she'll bump some way along the way. And I don't think you can win a Derby doing that from the outside. If you're on the inside, you might get away with a little bit of a bump. If you're coming from the outside trying to go in, I can't see how you can get away with that. So it's a difficult one. The only thing is, the only positive we can say from she is improving. She's definitely improving. But I don't see how she's going to get a clear run, clear enough to win.
Yeah, she's improving in terms of the clock. It's just a case of she can't really improve 2 lengths at boxes to the corner. That's a big ask. I think 12 to 1. You know, she's probably a 16 to 1 chance. You know what I mean?
Or bigger.
She's gonna need an either absolute flyer at boxes or something catastrophic to happen on the corner and her sit on the fence and find herself in front of with Susie Sapphire likely to stay tight to the fence. I can't see that traffic problems happening. Carrigane North, it's hard to envisage him winning the Derby, but we said it earlier on. He needs Sing Along Sally and Susie Sapphire to not just clash, but I mean really clash in those first few strides, Sarah.
Oh, he does, of course, yeah, and that's backed up with the price that he is in. He's 25 to 1 for a reason, and while it's brilliant for them to be there, there always has to be an outsider in these things, and he's the outsider of this one. So, but look, all he needs is luck. We say this every week. All he needs is a bit of luck to get there, but he would have to produce something special. And in fairness, he's probably the only one that can, because he's the youngest. So there's obviously improvement still in him. But whether he can do it with the crowd noise, as I mentioned earlier on, that would be just my worry. And a 25 to 1. Again, there'd be a load of people sticking their 5ers and 10ers on him, in the hope of we'll have another, what was that big Derby winner in England, Salad Dodger or...
Yeah, Salad Dodger,
A big price. So
he was named after me. Tommy, Carrigane North.
I actually backed Salad Dodger in the final, which is, I must be thinking of you.
So did I, funnily enough. Before as a saver, but I did back him as well.
While eating a burger.
But like the way I can't back Sing Along Sally because I can't factor into my betting what I think would need to happen for her to win. It's similar with Carrigane North. I don't know what
even if he gets the look at boxes, he's going to need the look at the first bend as well.
He's going to need a lot of luck. God, I'd love to have a Derby final. I'd probably never know what the feeling is like. But and you just be thinking, like I said earlier on, and creating scenarios in your head if you're connected to the dog, that how he can win. I can't see it. I can't back it. He's 25 to 1. He'll be 50s on the night, surely. 50, 66, surely.
Okay, Explosive Boy, Tommy. It's probably easier to make a case for Explosive Boy.
He in my opinion is the best drawn dog in the final, because they're Carrigane North has shown nothing that tell that he can match him to the bend. Sing Along Sally been moving in. Jack's Little Thing hasn't shown enough early pace to suggest that he's going to get in the way of Explosive Boy. And actually, Jack's Little Thing could act as a buffer to All About Ted. So Explosive Boy is the best drawn dog in the race. He's available as big as 11 to 4. I think himself and Susie Sapphire will both shorten up, and there'll be a push on the rest of them. As I said, I've judged the top and Explosive Boy for the final. I think it's between the two. Explosive Boy has a brilliant draw. His best break, I can't understand it. He's gone from 333 to 342, and I can't see it in the 2 heats.
No, nor can I. But that's for another day. Just before I ask Sarah, Tommy, this is his 4th time to race from Trap 4 in this year's Derby for an inside seed. That it's unlucky, but at the same time, I don't think it really matters with him. Pat has actually seeded him wide in the past, so I think 4 is no problem to him. He'll go pretty straight, but he's done. If you actually look at his sections, like he's a 343, a 346, and a 336 from Trap 4. Does he break as well from 4 as he does from the inside?
Did you not correct me one night that 343 was a 338? No.
Do you know what I could
one
have?
of his
Yeah,
sections
yes,
was
that's
gone 1 week.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That could have been August 21st. Correction. You're right. No, you're right. That should have been changed with the racing office. But no, you're right about Explosive Boy. So listen, scrap that question. Sarah, Explosive Boy, what does he need to do to win? Hit the lids and get around that corner.
He does, yeah. And as you touched on the 3:36, that was the night, the first night Ballymac Ariel picked him up. Like, I don't think there's a Ballymac Ariel here to pick him up.
And that night she cut him off in the corner. He actually lost time in the corner that night, and he's doing a 29:35. Like, that could have easily been a 29:27 that night, shall we say?
Yeah, like, that's fair enough. Like, but as I said to you when I was on the last time, I says if she's a length or half a length off his arse, she beats him, and she did. She bet him fair and square. Let's not beat around the bush. But she's not in the final, unfortunately. And I don't think there's another Ballymac Ariel in the final. So if he leads, nothing will pick him up. I'm certain of that. Because he's, as I said to you again, he's won these big competitions. He's got everything, the experience, the stamina. He's with the right trainer. He ticks a lot of boxes. And again, if he leads, I just think it's all over. And that's what I'm saying. I think the 2-1 is absolutely an insane price about him. So.
If he leads, but in order for him to lead Tommy, does he need Sing Along Sally just to give Susie Sapphire that little bit of a rub?
Yeah, the only concern I have that either Trap 1 or Trap 4 will not win the final is that if she got quite a hefty bump, but then recovered to show the early pace up into the bend, because she steps off ever so slightly at the first bend, just for 2 or 3 strides, and then she corrects herself. But if Susie Sapphire were to show that pace up after getting a bump, whereas Explosive Boy might be in front of her, and she's catching him into the bend because she has the best of the early pace. I don't know the sections up to the first bend. You might have them in, or I'm sure we could get a hold of them. But the sections up to the first bend, I suggest she's nicely clear on that.
Yeah, I can't believe Tom. We have to make this request live on air, but please send on those times, Professor. Come on. Moving on, Jack's Little Thing. Sarah, for the Pillar Syndicate to win the Derby with Jack's Little Thing, is it simply a case of he needs to make his best ever start, and then hope that he's enough to get around Explosive Boy and maybe Susie Sapphire getting held up a little bit on the fence?
Yeah, and I said before, I don't think he's in the same league as Explosive Boy and Susie Sapphire. And I don't mean that. We're here to give our opinion, and it's not anything to take away from the dog. But again, Jack's Little Thing, I think, produced a 16.96 in the first round. So what's saying he can't do that in the final? But there's just too much quality here.
The only about the 16.96 is that is to the third bend, and if he's not in front, he's not going to be doing that 16.96.
Oh yeah, of course. So he has to lead. It's as simple as that. There's just far too much early pace in this. It's just he's met his match now, and I think look. I feel bad in saying this, but I really just don't. I don't think he can win. I just don't. I wouldn't put him in the same category as Explosive Boy. I really wouldn't. While I'd love to see the Pillar Syndicate win, of course I would, but I think his 7-2 is far too short.
Tommy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that we're singing the same hymn sheet there, Sarah, because for the dogs on 29-23 in the quarterfinal, 29-10 previously, and to think that we don't believe he can win a Derby final seems almost ridiculous. But I just think the level of competition kind of found him out a little bit in the semi-finals, and I think even though there's a slightly different makeup to this Derby final, I still don't know where he's going to get clear.
What price should he be, Tommy?
What is he? There's 9-2 available. He's probably close to that. Maybe even a 5-1 chance. He's slightly. The problem I haven't written down to get the percentages right, but I think all about Ted. He's 5-2 in places, which I think is ridiculously skinny. Because we'll talk all about Ted in a moment, but I think that's a ridiculous price. So I think the two at the top of the market are too big.
Okay. All about Ted, Sarah. What does he need to do?
Well, he needs to stay in his line for a start, because I don't want him coming in like he did in his semi-final. I know he was out on his own. Maybe that's just, we've seen that happening a lot. Even if you're watching a dog in a solo trial, he could be the widest runner in the world, but when there's nothing in there to keep him out, they do kind of tend to come in a bit. So I'm hoping he stays in his line. I think he has the pace to match them into the first bend, but I don't think he has the pace to beat them coming home. So I think he's going to have to come out and be about 5 lengths in front to win, to be honest. And he's, as my dad said to me last night, he thinks he's probably the best drawn dog in the race, because he thinks that Explosive Boy and Susie Sapphire and Jack's Little Thing are nearly going to have the same sort of early pace heading into the first bend, that there's going to be a little bit of argy-bargy, that all about Ted will get this beautiful run on the outside, and that could easily happen. And at 3-1, as I said to you earlier on, I do think he's a very, very good price. And I'd definitely be packing All About Ted over Jack's Little Thing, so it's not much in between them in the price. But look, Ian, we could say they all need to produce the run of their lives. They all need to produce this fast start. But he really
That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be in the Derby final. Tommy, All About Ted, if he was a half length in front into the back straight, I'd fancy him to win it, I have to say.
Oh, I think so, yeah. Like I'm not saying that I don't think Jack's Little Thing can win it, and I'm about to tell you that I don't think All About Ted can win it. But like, if you said to me, right, Explosive Boy just slips at the traps and loses the length, and all of a sudden he's not in the race, effectively. Oh my God! All of a sudden you've got Jack's Little Thing potentially going round in front, or All About Ted challenging him. I look at it. We're talking on all known form, and Explosive Boy leads both of those. And as well as that, right, the reason I think neither 5 nor 6 come in the Derby final is because neither of them is, well, one is a middle seed, one's a wide seed, and neither are particularly wide. Jack's Little Thing will move in a little bit. All About Ted will move in a little bit. It's going to get very tight up at the first bend. They're both going to be challenging for pretty similar ground at the bend, whereas they'll have likelihood is they'll have one or both of Susie Sapphire and Explosive Boy in front of them, and there's something got to give between them. I look at the section there and I see All About Ted 338, 337, 338, and I he doesn't look like that sharp a dog with traps, does he? He never really. He's been pretty sharp the last 2 weeks. Even if you look back at his run in the quarterfinal behind Ballymac Ariel, he's beaten 2.5 lengths. He's 2 lengths behind Explosive Boy that night, but he was held up all the way into the corner on the outside of the bitch. Couldn't get around her. Is that not going to happen again on Saturday night?
If he does his 337, there's every chance he's going to be right there on the outside. As Sarah says, I don't think he'll edge in all that much until he has the room. I think he might cut the corner a bit, but Jack's Little Thing certainly cuts the corner.
Yeah, but that's what's going to happen. 4 or 5, Jack's Little Thing isn't going to stay out too wide. I anticipate that Explosive Boy will be gone in front. Jack's Little Thing will be slipstreaming or trying to catch up, not maybe 3 parts of length behind, trying to edge in a bit. I think All About Ted, when it's coming towards the bend, he'll be looking to move in, regardless of what's inside.
I'm going to put it on record. I think All About Ted will be in front of Jack's Little Thing into the bend.
A full length?
Well, not quite a full length, but Jack's Little Thing is certainly cutting the corner, whereas I'm not sure All About Ted would if there was dogs in his inner.
Well, I think that, like, All About Ted is between 5-2 and 3-1. I think it's a terrible price.
That's fair enough. What price would you make him?
I say I'd have to write the percentages down to get what I think it's right, but I think I don't know. He's definitely a bigger than a 3-1 chance. Definitely. I look at. He's a dog that's improving. He can win a derby. He would be my number 3. I tell you, the way I see it is it's either 1 or 4. I'd be siding with Susie Sapphire just because I think she can produce her best in the final. The way I look at it would be 1, 4, 6, 5, 2, 3. That's the way I'd be seeing that. That'll be my in order of how I think that they'll finish in the derby final.
Well, geez, Sarah, we're going to have to ask you to do the same now. 1, 4. Hang on a second. We're just going to write this down, right? 1, 4, 6, 5, 2, 3.
Okay,
TL.
I'll go.
Okay, go ahead. It's going to be the same, isn't it?
It's going to be 4 first.
No, she's gone for 1.
I'm trying to think of all the different scenarios. I mean, well, 1 anyway to win. 1, 4, 6.
5, 2, 3.
No. 2, 5, 3.
Wow.
What? Go on in.
I'll go 4.
Yeah.
I don't know whether to go 1 or 6. If 4 gets around that corner in front of 1, might just leave 6 on the outside. I'll go 4, 6, 1, 5, 2, 3.
This won't look different now on the top of the card on Saturday night, will it?
Well, listen, I've named the colours of the mask now. I can't actually change it, can I? It's lucky I haven't done the card yet. I'll be doing it in about an hour and a half. Listen, that's great. We now have our we know the order of the 6 finalists. 4,
We'll
6,
give you
1,
the
5,
trio.
2, 3.
We're all going to be wrong now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh,
Listen,
that's
before we
great.
go,
Well,
before we go, because
I'll
we've held up enough people, and we've held up the people enough now on a derby week. The crowd noise. We have 619 whelps, Tommy. 619 whelps.
Yeah.
They have never run in front of a crowd of any sort of size, bar last week. None of the 6 really seemed to be put off last week, but will it make a difference at Derby final night? I know there's not quite the same crowd, but it'll still be more noise than they've encountered before.
There'll be more noise, but it's not going to be the same. You have a limit, unfortunately, in the circumstances. You have a limit on the crowd. It's not going to be quite the same as it was in previous years. I'm not factoring it in as an issue. And the way the setup is in Shelburne with the barriers and whatever, and kind of keeping people back to the stands and back a bit, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I'll be quite honest about it. You had a line about the youngest bitch. Did you?
Oh yeah, I went looking yesterday thinking I'm going to have to go back through the history of the event to try and find a younger Derby finalist, and I stopped after 50 years, but I did find one that was younger. Obviously it's very hard to get your dates completely correct, but if what I found, it could be taken on trust. That Tina Marina was 1 year, 10 months, and 13 days. She won at 16-1 back in 1996. Susie Sapphire is 1 year, 10 months, and 17 days, 4 days older. I was amazed because I don't remember it being such a big deal when Tina Marina won it at that age. I don't know why. Maybe I just missed it. I was only a pup, sure. I was only a pup, but I was a pup that could drink. It's I was amazed to find one younger, and then to actually be a bitch as well. It's incredible. 21 years since a bitch won it, but of course there was 3 bitches won in the 1990s. So it can happen. I think it's just an anomaly that a bitch hasn't won it in so long. We've had 3 runners up in the past decade, so it'd be no surprise to me if a bitch won on a Saturday night. And in Susie Sapphire, I think we have a very, very possible winner.
Yeah, I think, and as I said on record, I think it'll be one of the most remarkable achievements for a bitch to achieve all she's achieved in such a young age in such a short space of time. And with the kind of swagger she does, like she's shown dogs what early pace is and how to track.
Yeah, indeed. Just before we go, best of luck to everybody involved, to all 6 connections. We pray that each and every greyhound come off the track safe and sound. Just to let you know, if you are on Instagram, search for BoyleSports IGD, and that will give you a virtual rosette for your stories. And you'll probably know more about it than I would, Sarah. And I'm sure you'll be sampling the various rosettes on a story very shortly. Sarah, what's your Instagram handle?
Sarah Kinsella 3.
Sarah Kinsella 3. Hard to believe there's 2 more Sarah Kinsellas.
Honest to God, there's only one.
I wondered if they fancy Susie Sapphire too, Tommy.
I meant to say to you.
Go on.
I could be wrong here now. All About Ted obviously raced in Toaster. Didn't they have a big crowd? So would he be the only finalist used to crowd noise?
He did run in Toaster. He ran in one of the supporting races. Well, it wouldn't be as loud, and it's well back off the track. It'd be very different to Shelburne Park. But no, listen, it is worth pointing out. Ballymac Ariel didn't handle the crowd at all in the Derby final, so it can happen, and it'd be interesting just to keep an eye on the dogs on parade. It can be viewed, of course, on Racing Post Greyhound Television on Saturday night, channel 437 on the Sky platform. You can also view it online via Barking Buzz, or indeed via the Racing Post Greyhound app, or at sportystuff.tv. But that's it from us. Best of luck to each and every punter involved in the Derby, be it breeder, owner, trainer, connection, kennel hand, staff members, whatever. Have a great week. Enjoy the occasion, and the very best of luck on Saturday night. And once again, most importantly, may they all come off safe and sound. My thanks again to Sarah Kinsella and to Tommy Lyons. We'll be back next week dissecting the final of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. But for now, good luck and enjoy the week.